For some teams in this top five player series, it's been difficult to figure out who would be the five players that go on the list, or it's difficult to figure out how to rank the players on the list. But when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, it actually was a relatively easy decision. There were five players that stood out above the rest, and I'm perfectly content and found it very easy to slot everybody where I did 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This is an organization that does have a great history, even though that wasn't necessarily always the case. For years, this was an organization that toiled in mediocrity. They had a couple of years in the 70s where they were playing really well, but ultimately the Dallas Cowboys stopped them from reaching the ultimate goal of the Super Bowl. It wasn't until a relatively unknown head coach from Stanford, who was once an assistant under Paul Brown in Cincinnati, named Bill Walsh, came in 1979, that the fortunes of the 49ers organization really changed. And six Super Bowl appearances and five Super Bowl championships later, the San Francisco 49ers are definitely one of the marquee NFL franchises. There's no question about it. And they're on a current run right now. Three straight NFC championship games, a Super Bowl appearance in 2012, one of the premier franchises still in the National Football League. So let's talk about the five greatest players in the history of the San Francisco 49ers organization. There were some great players, some Hall of Famers that didn't make the list. Guys like Hugh McElhenny and Bob St. Clair and Joe Perry and John Henry Johnson and Dave Wilcox and Y.A. Tittle. They've had some good players over the years, some really damn good players over the years, lots of Hall of Famers. But again, I thought there were five that really stood out above the rest. And like I said, this was actually one of the easier lists for me to do. So let's get to the actual list, and we'll start off with number five. We'll go with a first round pick out of Minnesota in the 1950 NFL Draft, and I'm of course referring to Leo Namalini. Some wrestling fans might know him or have heard of him from his time associated with Vern Gagne in the AWA, him wrestling for years as Leo the Lion Namalini. But during his 14-year career in the NFL, he was one of the premier defensive players in the National Football League. He was a 10-time Pro Bowler, a 6-time All-Pro, a member of the 1950s NFL All-Decade Team, a member of the NFL's 50th anniversary team. And what's significant with Leo Namalini is that he was All-Pro on both sides of the ball. He finished All-Pro twice as a left tackle and 4 times as a defensive tackle. So one of the premier two-way players of his time at a time where you didn't have quite as many two-way players as you once did. But his 14-year career was significant and it was notable. And throughout the first many years of the history of the 49ers organization, he to me was clearly the best player they had. Period. So he belongs at number five on this list. He was a first ballot Hall of Fame inductee in 1969, at a time where not a lot of guys were first ballot Hall of Fame inductees because you had all these players from the previous 40, 50 years of the history of the game. They had to find room for, they had to find ways to get him in. So guys like Namalini, it was rare to see a guy get in the first opportunity he had. Number four, I will go with Steve Young, who with a lot of other organizations would be the greatest quarterback in the history of that organization, but obviously he's not when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers, even though some may argue from a statistical standpoint that he was. The genius thing about the 49ers and Bill Walsh was them being able to acquire Steve Young via trade from a Tampa Bay Buccaneers organization in 1987. Steve Young had to bide his time. He had to be patient. This is a story to me of persistence and perseverance and patience ultimately being rewarded and paying off in a big way. Steve Young, 13 years with the San Francisco 49ers, and he really was a premier quarterback during his time that he was actually able to start. A 7-time Pro Bowler, a 3-time All-Pro, a 5-time league leader in completion percentage, a 4-time league leader in passing touchdowns, a 6-time league leader in quarterback rating. Steve Young was one of the best decision makers at quarterback of his time. You could argue maybe the best decision maker of his time. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks of his time, if not the most accurate quarterbacks of his time, and definitely one of the very best dual threat quarterbacks of his time. When you talk about Steve Young, you can't just talk about the damage he could do with his arm. He could make some big plays with his feet, and he was that true dual threat quarterback that was a passer first, but could also create problems and cause damage with his legs. You're talking about a guy that led the 49ers to a Super Bowl championship in the 1994 season. He set a Super Bowl record by throwing 6 touchdowns against the Chargers in that Super Bowl, being named the Super Bowl MVP. He had an 8-6 career playoff record, led the 49ers to 7 straight playoff appearances from 1992 to 1998. He had a career starting record of 91-33. So think about that. Almost 3/4 of his starts, the 49ers won the game. That's an impressive record. I don't care how the fuck you want to spin it. And his career numbers with San Francisco, his touchdown to interception ratio, 221 touchdowns and 86 interceptions. That's almost a 3-to-1. It's like 2.5 or 2.7-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Just an incredible total. And obviously why Steve Young found himself in the Hall of Fame as a first ballot guy. Number 3, I'll go with Ronnie Lott, the best defensive player in the history of the 49ers organization. A first-round pick in 1981 out of USC. Ronnie Lott was a freaking beast. There is a reason that when Ronnie Lott was drafted in 1981, and other players were a part of that class too, such as Wright, Mackay, or what have you, there's a reason that the 49ers went on to win that Super Bowl in that 1981 season, and Ronnie Lott was definitely a big key contributing factor to that. He was the safety of safeties during his time in the league. There is no question about it. One of the 2 or 3 best defensive players in the National Football League in the 1980s. A 9-time Pro Bowler, a 5-time All-Pro during his 10 seasons with the 49ers. A 4-time Super Bowl champion, a member of the 1980s NFL All-Decade Team, a member of the NFL 75th anniversary team. Think about that. When you talk about great players in NFL history, not that many players can say that they won 4 Super Bowls. And even when it comes to the 49ers and their Super Bowl championship seasons of 81, 84, 88, and 89, there aren't that many of them that can sit there and say they were there for all 4 of them. Even Jerry Rice can't say that, but Ronnie Lott can, and he definitely was a key part of that, no question about it, because all those years during the 80s that the 49ers were so great, and people always talked about their great offense with Montana and Rice and Roger Craig and what have you. Hey, that defense could play too, and Ronnie Lott sure as fuck could play. And what was so impressive about him is he was able to be an All-Pro and a Pro Bowler at both corner and at free safety. A tremendous defensive back. Most people, when they put together their all-time NFL rosters, Ronnie Lott is one of those 4 starting defensive backs in that roster, period. Number 2. Now, this is where it gets kind of sticky a little bit for some with the 49ers because, one might be the greatest player of all time, and one might be arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, or in the worst case scenario, is the modern gold standard for quarterbacks that have fouled in the National Football League. But number 2, I ended up going with Jerry Rice, a first-round pick out of Mississippi Valley State, a school that once produced a player like Deacon Jones in the 1985 NFL Draft. Jerry Rice is simply the best wide receiver in the history of the National Football League. Many argue that he is the greatest offensive player in the history of the National Football League. Many argue that he is the greatest, most dominant football player in the history of the National Football League. And there is a tremendous amount of evidence and statistics that you can use to back yourself up in an argument about this because his 16 seasons with the San Francisco 49ers are unparalleled and second to none. He was a 12-time Pro Bowler, a 10-time first-team All-Pro. To talk about the greatness of Jerry Rice, you look at his 1987 season, for example, when he had 22 touchdown catches in 12 games. That record lasted 20 years until Randy Moss broke it in 2007 when he played a full 16 games in order to catch 23 touchdown passes. 22 touchdown receptions in 12 games in 1987. Incredible. Especially when you factor in that those 4 games missed were because of a strike that were in the middle of a season. You had no business coming back and being able to dominate so quickly the way that he did, but he did. He had 11 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. 12 total 1,000-yard seasons during his 16 years with the franchise. You're talking about a guy with 4 seasons of over 1,500 receiving yards. He was a 6-time league leader in receiving yards and receiving touchdowns during his time with the 49ers, a 2-time league leader in receptions, 4 seasons with more than 100 catches. And the thing about Jerry Rice is they weren't just garbage catches, just stat-filling catches. This was a guy that was tremendous after the catch, one of the best, if not the best, wide receivers of all time in terms of run after the catch or yards after the catch. His ability to catch the 5-yard slant and take it 50 or 60 yards to the house. Is a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, a member of the 1980s and 90s NFL All-Decade Team, a member of the NFL 75th anniversary team. When you also look at Jerry Rice, you're talking about just with his 49ers numbers alone, he is far and away the most prolific pass catcher of all time. More receiving touchdowns than anybody in NFL history. More total touchdowns than anybody in NFL history. Second all time in receptions based off of his 49ers career, only behind the great Tony Gonzalez. Most receiving yards by a mile in the history of the National Football League. Most, I believe, yards from scrimmage in the history of the National Football League. Jerry Rice, incredible. I feel so privileged and so fortunate that I was able to watch his entire career in the National Football League. These are the type of special, once-in-a-lifetime players that you're glad you got to see them and you wish you could see them more. Just tremendous. But to me, the greatest 49er of all time, not the greatest player in the history of the organization in terms of pure player, but the greatest San Francisco 49er of all time has to be Joe Cool, Joe Montana. Talk about a guy, what a great draft steal. 3rd-round selection out of Notre Dame in the 1979 NFL draft. He was the player that Bill Walsh envisioned being able to run his West Coast offense. He thought that Joe Montana could be the guy that would eventually lead the San Francisco 49ers to the promised land. Oh, he did that and so much more. Joe Montana spent 14 total seasons with the San Francisco 49ers. During his time, he was a 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro. You could sit there and talk about the statistics, but things like completion percentage. I think he led the league in completion percentage 5 times. And, he had like 2 or 3 seasons with a quarterback rating above 100. But that's not the ultimate measure of a quarterback always. And that's definitely not the beginning of the measurement of a Joe Cool, Joe Montana. You talk about a player with a career 14-5 playoff record. A 4-time Super Bowl champion as a quarterback. Only Terry Bradshaw can claim that. And you could definitely say beyond a shadow of a doubt that Joe Montana was much more integral of a part of the 49ers' 4 Super Bowl championships over an 8-9-year stretch than Terry Bradshaw was in the Steelers' 4 Super Bowls in a 6-year stretch. It's not to diminish Terry Bradshaw. At the end of the day, like I talked about in the Steelers video when I put him in the top 5, he made some big plays and some big spots that helped them win games, especially their last 2 Super Bowl victories. But Joe Montana was that guy. 4 Super Bowl championships, 3 of those 4 Super Bowls. He was Super Bowl MVP. The one that he wasn't, it went to Jerry Rice. He was a 2-time NFL MVP, a member of the 1980s NFL All-Decade Team, NFL 75th Anniversary Team. His career starting record as a starting quarterback was 100 wins and 39 losses for the San Francisco 49ers. Let's think about that for a second. Think about that. That basically is implying that every season the 49ers were pretty much averaging 10.5 to 11 wins with him at the helm. And that's the measurement of Joe Montana as much as anything else, is how well he played in the clutch, how consistently well he played in the clutch, how much he meant to his team, and how often he was able to lead them to victory, how often he was able to engineer the great fourth quarter comebacks. You look at the catch in the 81 NFC Championship game, there was just something about Joe Montana. There's just something about Joe Cool that statistics alone can't ultimately measure. And to me, at the end of the day, as great as Jerry Rice was and as dominant of a player as he is, arguably the greatest player in the history of the National Football League, I think Joe Montana was the key to those 4 Super Bowl championship teams of the 49ers in the 80s. He was the identity of the 49ers. He is the 49er of all 49ers of all time, and that's just the way it is. You look at it, he led the team to the playoffs 9 times, 14-5 career playoff record, 4 Super Bowl titles, and 4 Super Bowl appearances. That's saying something. So to me, Joe Montana is the greatest San Francisco 49er of all time. But let me know what you think of my list. Let me know what your list of top 5 49ers will be of all time. We've got a few more of them to go. I believe the Seattle Seahawks are up next, and then I think it's Tampa Bay, Tennessee, and the Washington Redskins, and I'm done with this fucking series. Thank God.